we have presenting for us a wonderful colleague from Clearmark Title, Vahe Mirzayan. And I hope I said that right. Vahe, I
Yes, you did.
apologize if
It's
I
good. It's
didn't.
Vahe Zion. Thank you.
Great, thanks. And so just cue me whenever you want me to click through your slide deck, and you and Euro are in charge here. So Euro, do you want to maybe give a little introduction, because I know that you have worked with Fahi in the past.
Yes,
So
thank you. Thank you, Rebecca. I will do that. Thank you for the introduction. Vahe's beyond 30 years in the title industry. He's very, very knowledgeable. He's the ideal individual to kind of walk us through this process. I just want to remind everyone that, and I will throughout the presentation, how important our title companies and our title reps are to our success. They're a great resource. You're going to see a lot of the resources available to you, and I encourage everybody to utilize those resources to the fullest. So Vahe, you have the con.
Okay, well, thank you. I want to start out with thank you, Jiro. Thank you, Rebecca. And thank you, Kimberly, for giving me this opportunity to present. I'm real excited about it. And so I'm ready to go. I started in 87. So here we go. Understanding title insurance. Title insurance. What is title insurance, basically? And when I started 34 years ago, it was like a title of a book. I didn't know what it was. So then I found out more about it. Next page. About us, Clearmark Title, oops. No, we went back. You need to go. About us, about Clearmark Title. Okay, yeah. We are a forward-thinking title and escrow provider serving all of California. We're very aggressively marketing, and everybody who works there has over 20-year experience. So we have the passion. We're ready to make this happen for you. Okay, next. Okay, Clearmark's does have an escrow division. Clearmark Title our escrow officer is Wendy Banig. She is out of our Long Beach office. Her email is there, Wendy it's very simple at Clearmark Title. She does have years and years of experience, and she's there to answer all your questions for as far as any simple things. Next. How we can explain our escrow to our clients, simply put, escrow is an independent and neutral third party. Escrow is there to handle all your paperwork and coordinate all the funds, documents, instructions involved in real estate transaction. The escrow agent or the escrow holder makes sure that no funds are dispersed until all the conditions of the sale have been met. So escrow is basically they're playing the middleman. They're the one handling all the paperwork and requesting all the payoffs and stuff. So when the money comes in and it's sent to title, then once we get the money, we actually get instructions from escrow. Next. Escrow's agents' duties hold on to the purchase funds. So when you go to escrow, you open escrow, you put like whatever, 10%, 20%. They hold all the funds, keeps the flow of the documents of the parties moving smoothly, and it's very important, like they make sure that the SI is filled out, the statement of information, so it can update all the parties throughout the process on the escrow status. Orders title insurance, ensures the title insurance policy. Obtains approvals, reports, and documents as needed. Like in some cities have different reports. Like in the city of LA, there's a 9A report, and every city has some of these have different reports that are needed. The escrow does prepare the deeds and the loan documents, the grant deed, who's actually has the right to sell it because they've ordered the preliminary title report, or draws up the documents, and then also distributes the funds into real estate commissions recording to after it's been closed. So escrow does play a very major part, and we do, as a title company, take our instructions from them, but we also tell them that this is what is on our preliminary title report. Next. How long does escrow last? Well, there's an average of 30 to 45 days. Some take longer, or it might just be even less. Some people like an all cash deal and they want to close in 10 days, but usually it lasts about 30 to 45 days. And I would say maybe even up to 60 days, because there are factors involved where the buyer has to make sure he's, ready with loan approval and all that. And importantly, all the documents to order the payoffs, the demands involving the buyer, the seller, everybody. The loan officer we all work together. It's like one big circle. So the escrow time period, sometimes like an agent, when you get a loan, how fast can that loan officer perform, or how fast can they get it? So that's why the number of days differs in every transaction. This is an average 30 to 45 days, but I've seen up to 60 days or even longer. Next slide. Okay, life of an escrow. This is a cover sheet, a flyer that we have, and we're going to be emailing it to everybody so you can read it at your leisure, and it explains what the escrow does, what title does. And I'm going to be explaining this, but I'm not going to read the flyer. I'm going to have this emailed over to you guys, all the agents, and it's a good informational flyer. Why do I need escrow? Why do I need title? Because technically, you don't want to do it just a handshake. You're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars. So you want to make sure you got yourself covered. Okay, next. Our strength in Clearmark Title, which is really cool. We have 3 major underwriters: North American, Westcor, and WFG. And what's really great about having 3 different underwriters, so you have more options to close your transactions. So if one underwriter says, no, we're not working with this, we can't do this, other ones can. Westcor does a lot of more of the commercial, where the other ones also do, but Westcor does, and it is nationwide. So it's great to have options, so just like if you go to a Farmers or a State Farm insurance agent, that's what they write. But if you go to a regular broker, they have options. So we have options to make sure to close your transaction. Okay, next. Okay, our Qualia is our personal touch, our high-tech personal. You can order things online, and it's one big platform, and it shows how easy it is to be able to order title, and you can track it where it is, and we track it for you. We can get it, make sure. And I personally check all the prelims when they go out, where it is. And I follow up, and if you have any questions, I can, help you read it. Some people, it depends on where it is, what the problems are. And what's really cool about our prelim, it has in the front, it kind of gives you a summary. So you don't have to read the whole prelim, and it rates it A, B, C, D, or A, B, C, D, E, or F. And obviously A is the better, there's less issues to resolve. So we can look at it and say, okay, we have these issues. We have to pay off these demands. If there's a IRS tax lien, State Board of Equalization lien, whatever. So Qualia can get you that, and I can definitely help you look at the prelim with you. Next. What is title insurance? Again, title insurance, where's that page? Okay. Title insurance policy that offers protection against claims filed against property such as taxes, liens, and conflicting wills. So it shows who has the right to basically sell it. And yes.
Oh snap! Let me do it.
I'm sorry?
Go on, Vahe. It wasn't a question. Continue.
Okay. Anyway, title insurance policy offers you protections, like I said, claims filed against titled property, such as taxes, liens, conflicting, because when you buy something, it protects you. If you bought something and the previous seller had, issues with like mechanic liens, he hired somebody to fix something and didn't pay him, but title did clear all the records of matter that is recorded. So it does, that's why it's important to show that you're getting title Fee simple, you are the owner of this house. And this gray and black house looks really cool. I want to move there. I don't know where it is, but next. Okay, what is title insurance? Okay, there's another one. No, yeah, what is title insurance? The biggest thing when I first started title, it was like title of a book. To put it in the most layman terms, we are doing what DMV does for cars. When you go to the DMV and you transfer registration, the pink slip, we're doing it for houses. Because average person has no idea what title insurance is. And I would say, yeah, the ones that are more savvy and stuff. So 80% still don't know. I don't care how long you've been in the, you'd be surprised. And so what it does is basically shows that A is the owner, they have the right to sell it, and to B. Title insurance protects home buyers and lenders against defects and problems that are transferred. If there's a dispute arising out of the sale, the title insurance company may be responsible for paying specific legal damages or issues. Also, I wanted to say that in title insurance, when you're looking, it shows all matters of record. So when some people say, oh, I had an issue with the wall or the fence, but my neighbor and we resolved it. Well, if you resolved it, that's fine. But our job is to show all matters of record that's recorded. So if there is something, and for example, when you first had that issue with the fence and the guy filed a judgment, it's going to show up on the prelim, even though you resolved it between yourselves. It has to be a release of judgment. So title insurance, and technically you don't have to, or legally you don't have to have title insurance, but it would not be really smart not to buy it, because you're dealing with your whole life savings. And when it comes to money, people act really like weird. We're not talking $20, $100. You're talking hundreds of thousands, $1 million. Even within, you're like, oh, I'm buying this for my brother. It's okay. You should definitely have it, because then when you transfer it and you get it, there's something called an uninsured affidavit. You didn't get title insurance when you took title. Well, you actually took all the problems too. Okay, next. Preliminary title, understanding liens. This is where it's really simple to put it most. Why? When you order a property profile, you're getting all the voluntary liens. Voluntary liens are all the liens that you actually sign for. Like when you get a loan, you sign for the deed of trust. If you get something for an agreement for solar panel, you sign for it. Those are all voluntary liens, and they will show up in the property profile. Involuntary liens is what shows up in the preliminary title report. Those could be obligations to IRS, State Board of Equalization, Homeowners Association, utilities. It could be child support, spousal support. So everything else. And this in the involuntary as well as the voluntary comes up in the preliminary title report. And when you go to get a listing and you want to know, especially if they have a common name, it's really important to find out. We can get you a listing prelim, so you'll be really more prepared than the average person, that you know what's going on. And especially if they have like a common name, like a Smith or a Jones, it's a lot of liens, involuntary liens are going to come up, and we have to clarify that. We need their social, we need their driver's license. And even if they think, oh, I filed bankruptcy, 10 years ago, but that's all done with. Well, is it cleared, or is it still, showing up? So there's a lot of issues. It's good to be prepared and be ahead of the game. And I can tell you a really good story about child support, where this man divorced her husband 30 years ago, and he never paid. And now the kids are like in their 30s. And then the wife turned around and said, oh, he's a loser. He never, paid me anyway. So we ended up getting a written letter and have it notarized that this child support obviously is no longer valid, but the spousal support is still valid because the wife is still alive, the husband is still alive. So we had to get a letter and had it drawn up from the wife saying that, yeah, I don't expect anything. So the title company can actually remove that from the prelim. So it's a good idea to look at it and read it. And if you have any questions, and I'm always here to answer any of your questions, especially even if I'm not doing the title, you have questions, you call me, pick my brain. In 34 years, I learned a lot.
Vahe, I have one comment and one question. First, the comment. Years ago, I actually learned from Vahe to pull at least the title profile, because yes, it may not have the involuntary stuff complete, but it gives me an idea. So my recommendation, always print one out or get one digitally and have it as part of your listing presentation. Just briefly go over it and say, seller or sellers, here's what the public record shows in terms of title. Please confirm that your names are spelled correctly, the key information in terms of loans and so forth, because you want to find that stuff in the beginning, not when you're in the middle of an escrow. Trust me, it's going to be very bitter, because they're going to turn to you. First thing is they're going to turn to you and say, how come we couldn't have known about this from the beginning? So that's my advice to all my colleagues here. And a question for Vahe. In terms of these types of liens, and particularly the involuntary ones, if it's tied to the property, I'm assuming it's tied to the property, why would a name conflict necessarily impact the title and the successful closing?
Well, if it is tied to the property, but it's also because you're the owner, so it's also tied to your name. It's both, because it could be any property you own. So when they run your name, that's why when you fill out the statement of information, the SI, it shows up. And any property that you own, when you go to do something, it's your name as well as the property. It's not just one thing.
Got it. Got it. And give me 1 second. I'm going to read you a question from Sukhwinder. He says, as an agent, how do you pull a prelim title report?
Okay, preliminary title report, all you have to do is email me, text me, or call. Email and text is the best way to say that I'm getting this listing or whatever, and I can get it for you. But it's not like a property profile. It's not like you're pretty serious about this property, and because running a preliminary title report does have a cost, but there's no cost to you when we're doing it. But if you're like, so we try to look at, it's like, how many are we ordering? We can't just order hundreds of prelims and so basically just contact me. I will be more than happy to get it for you and look at it with you.
So Sukhwinder, the answer to your question is you contact your title rep. But again, I want to reiterate that just pulling the one that you have access to by virtue of your title company of choice giving you access to their system. And with Clearmark, most companies now, Clearmark included, they have a very nice app too. It's also on your telephone. You can pull up the information. That's going to be the title profile. That's available to us for doing business with the title company at no additional cost. But there's a cost associated with the preliminary report. So you're asked to contact your rep and have the rep pull that for you. It's just a way for them to mitigate the cost. Otherwise, there's a significant cost to the title company to pull a large amount of profiles. I'm sorry, prelims.
Okay. Next. Okay, title search and examining. So when escrow opens the title, or even if you order a listing and we start searching, we pull what is called the chain of title. When you acquired this property, and was it insured? And then it shows from the time you've ordered it, what are the open deeds of trust? What are the things that are recorded? And if you refied, and this one, there's a reconveyance, it paid off this first loan, and now you got a new loan. So title examining, by acquiring a title policy, you derive the most important knowledge that's recorded matters such as involuntary liens, have been searched and examined, so title insurance is covered by the property issued. So there's a process involved from the chain of title. An examiner looks at it, and then also when you order a preliminary title report and stuff, we can get it hyperlinked. So if you click on the numbers, you can actually see the documents, the deed of trust, the IRS tax lien, so you can actually look at it. And those are referred to as hyperlinked prelims. And that's really, so it'll give you more specifics about the lien or judgment. Okay, next. Title insurance policy contains provisions for the payments of legal fees, defense, claims against your property. It also contains provisions in indemnification and against this. This, you can read this, but I'm going to give you the best example that I know that happened. This one person, he bought a property, there was a double lot, and he started building a 16-unit apartment building. And when he did this, he got a letter from the county tax assessor. Congratulations, you're the owner of, say, lot 1. How'd you like to be the owner of lot 2 right next to yours? And he's like, what are you talking about? So he says, no, I bought this. It's mine. I have the title insurance policy. So he had to obviously stop building because he's building this huge 16-unit apartment building. So he went to the title company and said, you didn't transfer this properly, and and title companies don't usually have losses, rare, but when they do, it's huge. That's why it's important for them to do this properly. So the title company had to purchase the other property from the county tax assessor. Also, he turned around and he sued the title company $5,000 a day to stop his construction, because you're not allowed to build on somebody else, and somebody's going to pay for it. I'm not losing all this money. So when he did that, then he continued it. So the protection it has, it's amazing that you have to have it. And it's paid at the close of the transaction. It's not like other insurance policies where monthly you pay your car insurance, your homeowner's insurance. You only pay it once. And once you pay it, it's good for the lifetime as long as you own this property. So when you purchase something, you're getting an owner's policy. And as long as you own it, that policy is good. When you get a loan, you're getting a lender's policy. And every lender will not issue any kind of loans or something without a lender's policy. I hope that's kind of clarified the protection, why it was so important, especially in this particular case. The guy thought he owned it, and he started building, and they're like, whoa, what happened? Okay, next.
Hey, Vahe, can
Yes.
I just interject really quickly? Because I know we're going to move a little bit into title company and farming. But I wanted to just remind some of the agents that are watching that you guys, Vahe and his company is in Southern California. And Southern California, the way they do things is slightly different. Of course, the whole title insurance is the same. It covers the same thing. But up here in Northern California, we have an escrow company and does both escrow and title within the same company. So I think that I just wanted to kind of clarify that just a little bit. And then Fidel had a question about getting a preliminary title report. And up here in Northern California, we tend to open our escrows. We have like what we call a pre-escrow whenever we have a listing, and that enables us to get a title report in order to include that with our disclosure package. I don't know if you guys do pre-escrows down there in Southern California, but up here it's very, very common to open a pre-escrow. And then with that being said, a buyer doesn't have to use that title company because the buyer can always choose whichever, up here in Northern California, can choose whichever escrow company they want to go with. Even if the listing agent has opened a pre-escrow somewhere, the buyer still has the choice, okay? And then I just wanted to also point out too that we get the hyperlinked reports that Vahe mentioned, which are very, very useful, you guys, because when you're representing your clients, you definitely want to check on those hyperlinks. And, we really want to be reading the exceptions FAHI, right? Making sure that we understand what the exceptions are, because those are exceptions to the coverage of the policy, right?
Correct.
Right. And I always tell my clients, if they have questions and I can't explain any of those exceptions, then they are definitely, reaching out to their title rep, like Fahe, and like he said, asking specific questions, making sure they understand what's on that title report. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Do
So you're,
you guys also do color coded maps?
we can
Okay.
do that. Yes. So the
Yeah.
pre-escrow is like the listing prelim. So it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So we
Great.
can do that. And we do have our in-house escrow with Wendy, and she
Right.
can do that for you. And I know Northern California, it's more escrow driven. We're here, and usually the seller pays the majority of the cost. So the seller usually in Southern California chooses services.
Oh, so it's different depending on the region that you're in. Okay. Thanks for clarifying that. Yeah, so definitely that's another reason, you guys, is when you're trying to do business out of your actual geographic location, that you really want to consider, making sure that you are aware of the things that are happening within that location. So, okay.
I'd like to add a couple of things, if I may, Rebecca. First, in terms of, it was just discussed, Vahe just talked about the seller choosing services. It's really important for Rebecca and I, for all of you guys to understand that that's like every other aspect of the real estate transaction, and it's negotiable. Under the law, if somebody is dictating, for example, here in Southern California, and Rebecca, tell me if it's different up there, typically escrow fees, for example, are 50-50, or each party to a transaction pays their own escrow fees. Under the law, technically, if the seller dictates the escrow company, they choose it. Well, we all know most of the time the agents are doing that, right? Because of their relationships. But if the seller is choosing it, under the law, the buyer's side and agent can very easily say, great, since you're getting to choose escrow, you can pay all of escrow for the seller and the buyer. But because of the last 20 years, the crazy seller's market we've been in, we want to make our offers as acceptable as possible. So we're willing to say, you can choose the services. I've seen transactions on my escrows, my listings the last couple of years, where they're willing to pay all of it if they get the property. They'll pay all of escrow, the buyers, because it's so competitive. So always remember that there is a choice. And the second thing, when you guys mentioned in terms of what Rebecca was talking about, that's also really, really important to remember. We're licensed. We always remind each other, right? We're licensed real estate people. So we should be advising on specifically real estate. The legal stuff goes to attorneys. The medical stuff goes to doctors. We should all know our basic title insurance knowledge that we all should have. But if you feel there's a question that you may or may not have the right answer to, it's perfectly fine to refer that question to your title rep. They'll answer it. It's a third party. That way, if it's not what they want to hear, or if whatever the circumstances are, it's not going to come back and bite you.
Great point, Jiro. Thank you. One more thing before we move on, and Sukhvinder had a question on how do we get a hyperlinked title report?
Well, when you order the preliminary title report, we just request it to be hyperlinked, because all reports don't go out hyperlinked unless you ask for it.
Got it. Okay. Good. That's a good thing to know. So if you get a preliminary title report and it's not hyperlinked, then you should reach out to the title company and the title
Right.
officer and
Yeah,
ask
we can
for
get
a
it.
hyperlinked version.
No problem.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, moving on, you guys. Here we go.
Okay, Farming Title Toolbox. Title Toolbox is our app that's on, you have it installed on your desktop, and has some incredible options and stuff where you can get. Our Title Toolbox offers the tools for farming, statistics, turnover rates, property profiles, and recorded documents. You can actually look at everything. And so it has the option for when you can search your property profiles by APN, owner's name, or address. And a lot of this, when you're ordering stuff like on here, it works, all this information works a lot better on residential than commercial. Commercial, we can do it, but sometimes if there's like a corner property or something, the address on the building is not necessarily what the county tax assessor has. So if you can't find it, you call me and I'll get it immediately. It's real easy. We have like Google Maps. We look at the building and we're like, oh, that's where it is. So it kind of puts the plat map over it. We can do that. The net sheet is available on this. So you want to know like how much money you will be getting if you sell it. That's an option on this title toolbox. You just put in the sale amount. You can change some of the options, like how much is a realtor going to get and whatnot, and what are the costs involved for escrow title. But you have a good idea on the net sheet, how much will the seller be profiting once it closes.
I'm not sure, Rebecca, if it was discussed in previous classes, but a net sheet is a really nice little item to have in your listing presentation package. It basically shows them, and again, it's an opportunity for you to correct anything that's incorrect on the record of the property. So it's going to show all the liabilities they have, outstanding loans, etc. And it essentially shows the seller after paying off a loan, if there is one, escrow and title costs, commissions, natural hazard disclosures, all home warranty. It gives them basically a very close to what it actually is net dollar amount that they're going to net as a result of the sale of their property. Here in SoCal, we can either get it this way or we can ask our escrow officers to provide it for us as well. But the one from the title company it's kind of more attractive if you will. You can even get it to be in color if you chose.
Okay.
Yeah, we do that up here too. We like to have the net sheets, and sometimes I even advise my clients if they're really particularly concerned about closing costs, we can reach out to the, I know we're talking about title, but we can reach out to our escrow officer and we can say, hey, can you put together, basically based on what this property we anticipate it would sell for, will, give us the breakdown as far as like prorated property taxes. That's always a really big one that I think people forget about, right? Yep. The prorated property taxes and any other prorated fees. So, you can get a net sheet when you're in contract if you really want to make sure that you have the closing costs, ready to go. Or like Jiro said, you can definitely put together an estimated seller's net sheet for them when you're talking to the seller about selling, right?
There's a couple of good questions. Joe is asking, am I able to see where the most turnover is occurring? The answer to your question is yes. Title is one source. You can also do reports in your MLS, but you definitely can. That's the beauty of the title. Based on different types of demographics, Joe and everyone, you can do some very cool reports. So that's something you can get together with the title rep, Joe, and actually have them run. You'd have to, of course, narrow it down in terms of, for example, you can say in a particular county or in amongst these zip codes. Otherwise, you're going to get a ton of data. But the answer to your question is yes, you can. And then William is asking for a link to download this app in the chat. You got it. I'll do that before the session is over.
Okay. Yeah. When you're doing the turnover rate, it's good. Like if you just do a whole county, that's too big. It's better to get a more specific area. Even a zip code, sometimes you want to do like get a 1 mile radius of this particular address or 2 miles. The smaller the area, the more accurate this information would be. Okay, moving along. Farming today, there are when you're doing a farm, you can order it. There's a couple of really cool features it has. It has one, it's custom filters when you go on there. And the custom filters, there are some options that you can do where you can do empty nesters. people who've owned their house for 30 years, bigger homes like 3,000 square feet or larger. So now they're ready to downsize. Their children have gone to college and hopefully they've moved out, but a lot of them are coming back. Those are basically one of the other features. And when you're dealing with somebody on their empty nesters, you're dealing with obviously people who are more like in their late 50s, 60s and stuff, because they've owned it for 30 years, depending on when they bought this property. It also has next sellers who it takes an average of an area that you want, and it shows the average person moves approximately about 7 years, every 7 years. So these people are more likely to sell than if you just did everybody in a specific area. Also, there are empty nesters, there's that, and then there was one more. Okay. Also, out-of-state owners, you can do owner-occupied and absentee owners. Absentee owners are obviously people who don't live there, and then to make it even more, you can do out-of-state owners. And a lot of people who live out of state are tired of trying to collect rent. They're having issues. And a lot of realtors here in Southern California are farming to those that are in different states. And because you market to them and you say, your property is worth so much. Are you tired of trying to collect rent? Look how much, it's a seller's market. So it's a good way to get listings. Then there's there's Premier Leads. Premier Leads has a minor cost. If you're doing cold calling, it provides phone numbers, and the phone numbers are either landline or cell phones. Those are at 5 cents a record. And then there's also emails at 7 cents a record. If you click on the link, it shows all the different things. You can get death certificates that are filed. So if there's a death certificate and the kids own it, more than likely this house will sell. There's divorce rates. There are IRS tax liens. There are people who have filed bankruptcy, divorces. And so when you're approaching these, you can't just go knock on someone's door and say, I know you're filing for a divorce. Well, this is what your property is worth now. And people who, like, for example, file divorce, 51% end up selling within the 12 months. So you have to, and it's good to you kind of let the computer do the work for you. If you take everybody, then you're looking at 3%. You want that percentage of sale to go up so you can look at, get one of these custom filters in there or the premieres so you can actually do it. And everybody is good at one thing. I have a client that's very good at the cold calling. And then I asked him, I said, everybody has caller ID. When I get a number and I don't recognize it, I don't answer it. He goes, well, yeah, I understand that, but it's a numbers game. And he's hired a couple of people who do constant cold calling, and it's working for him. He's like multiple, and he's very good on the phone, and so are these other callers. So some people are good on the phone. Some people they work differently. So the tools on this, there's a lot of different things that you can custom filters, Premier Leads, and you can look at it, and there's a real Premier, there's a minor cost. Like I said, 5 cents a record, 7 cents a record. Some of them, the highest it goes to is 50 cents a record. And so this way you're more focused. You're trying to go after that niche. So you try and see what works for you. Okay.
Going back to Joe's question, based on what Vahe just shared, everyone. So you have all these different ways that you can pull these reports. And in terms of turnover, now you can actually narrow it down, Joe, and you can say, okay, where does there seem to be more turnover? And now I'm going to further filter that down to, I'll give you a really good tip. One good way of knowing, we know that for a long time, it used to be 5 to 7 years is how the average, obviously that changes, but 5 to 7 years is the average in terms of how often people move. So you can do a couple of things. You can look at, for example, where the homeowners have been there more than 7 years. You just, like Vahe says, have increased your sale possibility in terms of amongst those addresses. You can do things like where do people have $500,000 or more equity, $1 million or more equity? Where has there been a a home refinance more than 5 years ago. These are all little things that you can do to get, you know, a much more filtered, higher quality as far as potential sale leads. I used to, many years ago, I used to do one, for example, where at 5 cents a piece, it was really, really cheap. For less than $20, I'd get hundreds of records of people who are, let's say, behind on their mortgage payments 90 days or more. And then I would further filter a notice of default, which is public record, has been recorded. There's a higher, much higher possibility of those properties being sold. And here's the clincher. We have this amazing group of people in our organization, right, who we can give this information to, and they can do all the outreach for you. So that's one of the beauties of being at Radius Agent. We have the department who can actually nurture these leads for you. You pay pennies literally per lead. You hand them off to our division of great people that do those outbound calls for us and nurturing. And you're going to start seeing results. And very quickly, I just put Vahe's email address. I forgot. I said I'd drop a link, but I can't drop a link because Vahe has to do it for you so that you get it for free and no cost. So he's got to sign you up. He'll give you. It gets done in less than 24 hours. Usually, you'll get your sign on and password, and then you can go in and customize it a little. But the address is in the chat, the email address.
I will have, I'll have Laura Lynn help me with that. And also what I wanted to also mention was our mobile app on, and you can do things on our mobile app. It's so easy and you always have your cell phone with you. The mobile app is amazing because it's as easy as just taking a picture. You don't need to know the address, the owner's name, nothing. You take a picture in front of a house, it tells you, the property profile comes on there. And the number one question that they always ask, what do you think my property's worth? Well, it has comparables. And in the mobile app, it's really simple. You can search all the regular ways, the APN, the owner's name and all that. But I love the fact, like if you're showing a house and the buyer looks across the street and says, what about that house? Boom, you take a picture and you know who it is and you know everything about it. That's how cool it is, and it's that simple. And you always have your cell phone with you. You don't always have your laptop. So and we'll make sure that we'll put the links on there so you can get these things. Okay. Next is one of my favorite, I think. Yeah, okay, this is one of my favorites. Okay, when you're farming, okay, actionable transform farming data into actionable steps for valuable leads. Okay, everybody knows you can do your postcards, you can do cold calling. These are the ways that you're reaching out. If you send out, like say 1,000 postcards, you're like, okay, I did it. You know, you don't have to deal with rejection. If you're doing cold calling, it's great. You actually get to speak to people, but you have to be ready to say that you're reaching out to them. They're going to say, don't bother me, and they hang up on you. So the best advertising is obviously in person. In person, and because of COVID, it's been kind of like crazy and everyone's scared. So there's a couple steps that I think that the number one on here is to join a farmer's market. Why? Every area has one. People go out and you get one of these booths and they're not expensive. People are actually coming to you because when they're walking in a farmer's market, they go to each booth. So you're not running after them, they're running after you. They come to you. So this way you can like give them information, hand out like a little tchotchke and something. And I had very interesting response from one of my realtors who did this. He was actually handing out fly swatters, believe it or not. And because it was summer and all these mosquitoes, and he goes, everybody loved it. He got such a great response. Look at this, you know? Yeah, you're lighting your citronella candles, but he goes, when we sit in the yard, I have my fly swatter. And that's something he's going to keep. So what you're handing out could be, you know, really simple and whatnot. So farmers market is a great tool. People, you know, come to you and you can do it consistently. Some areas have it every Sunday, once a week, once a month, whatever, but continuously do it. The next one is to set up a booth at a community event. It could be at your churches or any event. Some schools have it. But my favorite one was there was a gentleman, he would walk in the Rose Bowl and around the track. And so he's like, okay, how am I going to talk to all these people walking? You know, I can't run up to them, each one say, excuse me. So what he did is he set up a table, one of those folding tables, he got water, and he put his labels on all of them. So whoever walked by, again, they were coming to him. He wasn't running after them. Would you like water? Well, if you're running and you're walking, yeah, you're going to stop and get that water. What is this? So those two things are ways of getting people to come to you instead of you running after them. The number 3 is there's one day that's the best day to go door knocking if they'll allow it here. So where people actually open the door. Because somebody comes and knocks on your door, you're like, I don't know who this is, I'm not going to open it. It's Halloween. You take your kid, your niece, your nephew, somebody, you say trick or treat, they're going to open the door. So the next time when you go knock on that door, they'll go, oh, it was that guy who came on Halloween. And when they give your kid or niece or nephew a candy, you give them your card or something. You might give them a little goodie bag. So Halloween, and I challenge all of you to go door knocking at least 25 to 50 doors. And you'd be surprised what a great response, because you'll actually see people opening the door.
Vahe, I just want to make sure everybody knows. So when Vahe was referring to the Rose Bowl, you all see it on New Year's Eve, right? The big football game is played. But
Right.
for those of us who live in the general area, every day the Rose Bowl is a big recreation area. So the roads that go around the Rose Bowl, there's also a very large public golf course there, and there's a lot of golfers. But throughout the day, 7 days a week, there's people bicycling, rollerblading, walking, jogging around, thousands on any given day. So just imagine, I'm sure we all have such an area in our neighborhoods. It might not be as big as the Rose Bowl. It could be a high school. It could be a local gym, a park, wherever in your area where people congregate to exercise. Hotter days, you set up a water station like Vahe says. Colder days, if you like the cold like I do, you can set up a hot chocolate stand. You can do tea, whatever you think would be appreciated by people. But just imagine after a while, they're going to see you on a regular basis, and you're gonna get a lot of prospective clients from that.
Yeah, it's a matter of like being. So the next one.
Vahe, you got muted.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. The next one that I have on there is the Chamber of Commerce. Every area has a Chamber of Commerce. It is really important to know what's happening in that community, the area that you're farming. So a lot of businesses, others. So you want to know who are your other independent contractors, your other entrepreneurs who are in their business. And so when you join the Chamber of Commerce, you can find out what are some of the other people doing, and you can if there's like a local coffee shop or something, and and say, hey, can I market with you? If I hand out postcards, get a free cup of coffee or a donut, and you can go there and and I'll be glad to pay for it for you. Or my favorite one was, there was a area in again, it was in Pasadena. There was a local dry cleaner down this hill from where there was a set of homes, and he said that he handed out a postcard, said, okay, the next shirt that you bring for dry cleaning, and you bring multiple dress shirts or whatever for laundry and pressing, the next one is on me. So the dry cleaner would just staple it on their plastic, and they would keep it because they're going to continuously take their clothes to the dry cleaning. So if I can pay for one of them, that could be in your budget. So it was really smart that people who go to dry cleaners and stuff obviously are more professionals, and so you're dealing with that kind of people. The property, the Property Force Mobile, which I explained earlier, is just an amazing, and it's so simple. It has tutorials on there where it has videos where you can look at it, and it'll show you. You have a couple of minutes, you look at it, and you'll see how easy it is to use it. and you can play with it. And it's just like people ask you, oh, I just, you go to your friend's house. I just bought this $1 million house. Well, really? Let me see. Okay. Actually, you didn't, so you can actually snoop. You can find out a lot of great information on that. And when you learn to play with your like I like my cell phone more than my desktop, but because I'm a sales rep and I'm driving, I don't always have my desktop. So I learned how to use that a lot more. So these are some steps for marketing. The first two, people are coming to you. The other ones, you're going out. So you got to think creatively and go outside the box. How am I going to get more listings? The more listings you have, the bigger the winner you are.
I want to share something that I share with all of our great colleagues that I mentor. So a great reason for joining the chamber, Vahe already told you, is you also want to build relationships with local business owners and entrepreneurs like we all are in our communities. One of the things that I was told maybe 15, 16 years ago was there was this, at the time, new younger agent who just really didn't know how to build their book of business. Came up with this idea, even though it was the first versions of the iPhone, early stages of the iPhone. He would go to a local business that his family had basically frequented over the years. It could have been a dry cleaner, it could have been their local grocery store, a video store. Yes, we used to have something called video stores back then, different kinds of places. And he would just do a very short video, ask the same 3 questions, essentially introducing that business to the community, and then he would post it. This kid ended up having thousands of followers, became a super, super successful mega agent in the community because he knew 15 years before the rest of the world that content and video are king and that people are willing to watch these videos. And so that's available to all of you. You have your smartphones, identify 5 to 10 businesses that know you really well. Just right now, I'm sure off the top of your head, you can write 5 to 10 down that you visit weekly, monthly, whatever it is. Write it down, pick up the phone, call and say, hey, Fidel, I'd love to come and interview just for a quick 3-minute video. I'm going to feature you as the local real estate expert. You think Fidel is going to say no to that request? Absolutely not. It's free advertising for him. So a really good reason to join the local Chamber of Commerce.
Okay. And that's about, I think that was the last slide. So that's kind of, and if there are any questions.
Hello?
I have a question.
Yes.
So I know earlier you talked about the title insurance and you gave us an example of a 16 unit. Do you have one that's an example of a single family home where somebody had was able to use the insurance?
I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Yeah, there are another great one. Okay. Yes. There was a house on, it was on top of the hill and the person, it had a view. And so when you get a prelim, it has all the easements. There are utility easements, This man went and he built this incredible swimming pool. One of those, what do they call it? Infinity pools. And so then he tried to hook up the gas line and stuff, and it wasn't working. He called the gas company, and the gas company said, well, we can't get it to work. We have to go underneath your pool. And he goes, I just spent $100,000 fixing this. So that's why it's important to look at the prelim, that there are easements. And when you get, especially if they're like on the hill, you can get plotted easements where the lot lines are, where you can build where you can. And the guy just went and did it without, and he spent all this money. Or if there's a shared driveway and you build a fence or a wall and the neighbor turns around and says, oh, you're on my property. So you can get plotted easements so you know exactly where the lot lines are. And the best way is to have a survey done, because title insurance does not insure the lot lines. It insures all matters of record. So easement, if there's going to be a question, you need to have a survey done so you know where the lot lines are, where you can put the fences. or like with this pool situation?
Christian, I have a single family one. I have many that over the years I've heard from my colleagues and so forth. I'm going to share the biggest one that I myself had. About 15 years ago, I was selling what was then the most expensive listing in Glendale, and I was representing the seller and who also built the property. We opened escrow at the time at $1,777,777.77. He was very big on 7. The address of the property was actually 777. And halfway through the process, I get a call from the title officer saying, there's this $300 lien that has to be cleared. I said, $300 lien? That $300 lien is going to stop this sale? She said, absolutely. It's got to be cleared or we can't insure the title. So I went to the owner and I said, did you know? And he says, no, I bought this as vacant land and I just built it. Of course, I'm not going to allow there to be any liens. So long story short, however many owners previously, there was some kind of a mechanics lien, one of the liens Vahe mentioned early on, that was never satisfied. And I have 2 big time ego males, my seller and the buyer, both single men, just none of them wanting to sort of bow down and pay that 300. Imagine on almost $1.8 million in 15 years ago dollars, right? So these things happen. I'm not going to kid you and tell you they happen all the time, but with the simple 2-minute step of just looking at that title profile, and then if you said something after you read the, like Vahe said, the Clearmark title profiles at the beginning, most of them will have sort of the meat, if you will. It's kind of like the first 2 pages of your purchase agreement. Read it, and if something doesn't seem like, if you see anything other than the mortgage liens on there, which the seller should of course know about, and anything in terms of taxes due, which are fairly common, anything else you want to call your contact your title guy, have them do a prelim so you can see what's there in terms of the involuntary stuff, because if that if on the involuntary side, that mechanics lien is going to come up. So you do it right there and then, and you nip it in the bud.
Thank you, Vahe. Thank you, Jero. Appreciate that.
There's a question, can you join more than one chamber of commerce? Yes, absolutely. Are you kidding? You should join every chamber of commerce where you're doing business. I know people who are members in 4, 5, 6 chambers of commerce. Great question.
Okay. Any more questions? Anything? And if you think of one, you can always contact me, email me, text me. So don't hesitate.
Yes, I shared Vahe's email in the chat thread. And as Rebecca also said, there may be slight variances or significant variances in terms of north versus south. Definitely, you can speak with Rebecca. She can, I'm sure, recommend local people up there. But general title questions, you'll be able to ask Vahe or anybody else that you do work with. And definitely utilize these tools. They're available for us for free. Absolutely no reason not to use them.